Welcome back to the She Can channel, where we interview women from all walks of life on their journey, how they got to where they are today. And I'm really excited to talk to Baroness Dido Harding today. Dido, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do. You've had so many important positions, both in the business world and in the world of politics. So try and walk us through your journey and how you got to where you are right now.
You're very sweet and kind, Stephanie. So I am a businesswoman first and foremost. So I had a business career, McKinsey educated. I started my business life at McKinsey, have a Harvard MBA, and I spent about 25 years firstly in food retailing and then in telecoms. But I've also had a parallel career in public service. So I've always been interested in politics. I read politics, philosophy and economics at Oxford. I married a politician for my sins. And when I ran a telecoms business, when I ran TalkTalk, I learned that highly regulated businesses don't exist independent of politics, that independent regulators might be called independent, but actually they live in the political soup. And they're not granite islands in the political soup. They're boats ebbing and flowing with the political world. And so I was a CEO of a telco for 7 years. So I learned how to influence the regulator. And I learned that to do that, you had to understand politics and government administration, so Whitehall and Westminster in British code. And from that, I discovered that I care probably a bit more about changing the world for good than I do making money for my shareholders. So I've had a second career after a career in business in public service, both in health. I was very involved in the NHS for 5 or 6 years and heavily involved during COVID. And also I was on the board, the court of the Bank of England for 8 years. And you see my strange background, find me in my office in the House of Lords. I'm sort of a part-time legislator. I don't really think of myself as a politician. I never stood for elected office, but I'm a member of the House of Lords and spend a lot of time on digital regulation. So I'm a bit of a hybrid, in truth, of business, public policy and politics.
Dido, thank you so much for explaining that. You've really held so many powerful positions and you were head of the track and trace. That must have been a really full-on, in the public eye, so many experiences that must have really influenced you as a person. What do you think is your main motivator?
Well, I should have said, when you asked about my career and life, I should have said I'm also a mum. And that's one of the most important parts of who I am. I have 2 teenage girls and I'm an ex-steeplechase jockey. So what you take from all of that is that I'm someone who walks towards the fear rather than walks away from it. And during COVID, at the beginning of the first lockdown in the UK, like everybody else, I was at home on Zoom. I was chairing a part of the NHS, and out of literally nowhere, my mobile phone went off, and it was a phone call from the then Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. And he spent 15 minutes not really asking, telling me that he needed me to step up and serve and do a job to build the UK's COVID testing and tracing service. And I've played that call back in my head many times. And if I received that phone call again from any Prime Minister, I'd do the same thing, which is, I think there can only be one answer when you're asked to serve by your country's leader. The answer is yes. What can I do for you, Prime Minister? And I would do the same again. But that is the jockey in me. It's also the business leader that likes to roll her sleeves up and do stuff. And I know I made heaps of mistakes in building Test and Trace, but I also know that the work that I did with the 55,000 people who worked with us as we built it, that together we saved tens of thousands of lives. Now, when in an ordinary business career do you get the chance to say that? I'll go to my grave knowing that I did my absolute best in a time of crisis. So actually, what's not to like about that? That's how I cope with it.
Yeah.
The purpose was beyond price, and I had a chance to make a difference.
Yeah, yeah, and that is so inspiring, Dido. And it was an impossible situation, and to make anything out of it is an incredible achievement. Dido, what top qualities do you think that you have? You obviously are someone who loves to walk towards the fear, so that's definitely a quality. What other qualities do you think you have that make you so resilient in those times when you have to step up and serve, and you've done that numerous times?
I think, gosh, I'm not very good at talking about what I'm good at all. Very, very British.
Very
I
few people are.
This is true. This is true. Um, People say that I am known for being very authentic. I'm always true to who I am. And I found that one of the best ways of coping with very high pressure situations is to try to be really, really true to yourself. And the reason for that is that I find you can sleep at night if you think you've tried and done the right thing. I think it's really hard to sleep at night if you know you haven't done the right thing, if you've ducked the difficult decisions. So for me, the thing that really gives me the inner strength is trying to always do what I think is right, even if it's not the easy course, even if it's not the most popular course. Actually, I think resilience comes from being true to what you stand for and true to who you are. Because if you're being authentically you, you're okay. It's when you're pretending to be something that you're not that it's really hard to have that resilience and self-belief.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think that's very powerful. What would you say are you most proud of to date?
Probably, well, in the round, I'm most proud of the fact that I have two teenage girls who I don't seem to have mucked up too much by being their mum. And I am incredibly proud of that. If you can cast a shadow way to people, family, friends, strangers, the people I've mentored and supported over the years, that gives me real joy. I've said I'm proud of the fact that I served my country when I was asked to, and that I know I did stuff that saved lots of people's lives. And I think I'm part of the generation of women that I had no role models of women working and having a family, and being their whole selves as I grew up. I grew up in a very privileged background, but with women who didn't work. And so I'm proud to have found a path to be me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I think in the end, that's all of us can really hope for.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, Dido. That's brilliant. What top tips would you have for women who are struggling with the pressure right now?
Um, well, this isn't rocket science. And there are the basics of sleep, eating well, exercise, finding space, however pressured you are, to do a tiny amount of the day to do something that gives you joy. Those are the recipes to de-stress. And I can say honestly from experience, in doing a literally 18-hour a day, 7-day a week job for a year in COVID, that was the recipe, making sure that I took exercise, that I got sleep, that I ate properly, and that I had a tiny window to, in my case, ride fast horses at large obstacles and hang out with my teenage girls, because that's what gives me joy. But that's not rocket science. It's really hard to stick to. I know myself when I'm falling off that path, when I'm not finding the time to exercise. That's a good trigger sign that I'm not as balanced and in control as I thought I was.
Mm.
But I think that there's no other way. You've got to work that out for yourself and find those things that knock you back into balance when you're under pressure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dido, for that. So, what is in store for you? What are your plans or goals? Is there anything? I know you're involved in a fantastic non-for-profit organization, My Agro. What are you? What's your plan?
Gosh, I'm not sure I have any more of a plan than I did when I was 18. I'm doing various things that I really care about. So you mentioned Niagara. I chair this West African social enterprise that provides a digital savings platform for smallholder farmers in West Africa, which is amazing, growing really fast. And enabling people to have agency in their lives, even when they're saving tiny, tiny increments, which is brilliant. I'm involved in a couple of other social enterprises. Likewise, actually, all of them have female founders. All of them are trying to enable social action on the ground up. So I'm doing a lot of that, and I'm really heavily involved in digital regulation in the House of Lords. That's my space in our legislature. I think we're the generation who are setting the moral and legal frameworks for the digital world. And we grew up in a non-digital world, so we remember what a stable legal framework pre-digital was. Our children have no idea what that was like, and we need to gift them the legal scaffolding for the digital world. So I'm excited about playing a role in shaping that, whether that's online child safety, data privacy and protection, the regulatory challenges of artificial intelligence, sort of brain-achingly hard stuff. But so I'm working on that, and then I'm enjoying being a mum of teenage girls, and spending too much money on horses, as my husband would say.
Dido, thank you so much for this really inspiring conversation and for all the things that you mentioned towards the end now. And thank you for your service, because these are really important issues to work on for all of us.
Not at all. Lovely to talk.